Hi, everyone. Welcome to the event today. I'm going to go ahead and get started. I will share my slides shortly. And for anyone that is watching the playback or the recording, the slides can be found in the info section, I think, on YouTube. I'll be putting it there. Awesome. Okay, well, welcome everyone. Today's workshop, I'm super excited. My name is Radhika Bhatt. I'm super excited to be partnering with the Bloom, this incredible social impact community, to bring you these workshops today and tomorrow. Today's workshop is focusing on the resume and LinkedIn refresh, specifically for USAID or federal workers that have been impacted by the reductions in force. Um, I'll give a little bit of an introduction about what we're going to be talking about today, talking a little bit about myself, and then we will jump right into it. Really quickly about the Bloom, I'm super excited to be partnering with this incredible organization founded by Jasmine Anuna. Thank you so much for having me here. The Bloom is the world's go-to platform for social impact careers. They have a lot of different programs around global matchmaking. They have a resource library. They do career fairs. So I'm super excited to be partnering with this organization to bring you this workshop today. A little bit about me before I jump in. As I mentioned, my name is Radhika Bhatt. I'm a climate career coach, and I've been running my own business now for 3 years, helping job seekers navigate career transitions into climate and social impact. In addition to being a climate career coach, I've also done recruiting work in the social impact field, and I call myself an emergent strategist, which is all about building a better world, building a more cohesive, world through trust and community building. Through my business, I've helped around 400 job seekers land and pivot their work into climate. I've done this through in climate sustainability, and I've helped people land roles at social impact nonprofits, government, startups, philanthropies, and a lot of different organizations in the private sector. Before transitioning to becoming a climate career coach and running my own business, I actually worked in government for 8 years. I entered into government at the tail end of the Obama administration, worked in, the rest of that, the Trump administration, and then saw the transition from Trump to the Biden administration as well. So I really want to share this to say that I not only have deep empathy for what you all might be experiencing, but have also lived through another version of this in my own career as well. My background was mostly at the intersection of technology, policy, data, and design. And I used all of that to build my own business and to kind of transition myself into another space when the time came for me to transition as well. So today, what we're really going to talk about are other ways of expanding your job search and kind of building a new pathway for yourself. So I definitely recommend and encourage everyone. I would love to connect with each of you and continue supporting you in your journeys. I'll drop all these links in the chat, but please connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know if you found this workshop helpful, if you need any other resources. There's a lot of links that I'm going to be sharing today, so definitely follow along in the slide deck or pull up the slide deck if you want to get plugged in. So in my own network, I host a monthly conversation series called Regenerative Roundtable, which brings together different speakers from different sectors of climate that help kind of elevate their own career paths. We talk about the ins and outs of how they landed where they are, kind of how they overcame challenges. It's a very big focus on heart-centered conversations. I also have a climate careers resource, and I recognize everyone here, you all may not necessarily be in climate, but a lot of my career resources are climate and social impact focused. So no matter where you are, no matter what your background is, I have a lot of resources that can help you in addition to today's workshop. So definitely please connect with me. And if you're ever interested in coaching, my information is on the slide as well. So before we jump into the slides, I want to share this beautiful picture of this forest. I have my own practice of forest bathing, which is simply a practice of going into the woods and wandering and noticing the little moments in nature, the leaves, the place where the sun is coming in, the sounds. It's almost like a walking meditation of sorts. And in my own forest bathing practice, I've found a lot of solace in nature. I've found a lot of comfort and I've found a lot of healing. So, for today's workshop, I want to offer everyone here a pocket of sanctuary, a place where you can feel your feelings, the stress, the anxiety, the uncertainty, the sadness, the anger that might be coursing through your veins right now. And I equally want to offer in this same place, in this hour that we have together, I offer an invitation to feel the other side of those feelings as well. Maybe the peace, the hope, and the opportunity to create space for alternative realities and pathways for yourself. I have a colleague who's written a book, really incredible book called The Edge of Time, and he talks about how pretty much where we are right now is the edge of time. History is behind us, the future is in front of us, and yet there's so much unknown. We don't know what tomorrow looks like, we don't know what the next year looks like. And in that is possibility. We have the possibility to create our path forward. We have the possibility to explore the endless opportunities that are in front of us. So today, I offer you this thought, this meditation that our future is truly up to us to create. And in the hope, there is agency. In the hope, there's the opportunity to co create life right now. And there is space for all of us. And there's also opportunity for all of us. And I will say it a few times throughout this event, but your skills and your talent is so needed in this world to build a better world, to build a more collaborative world. So thank you for being here. And I just want to offer everyone this pocket of sanctuary in our hour together. Today, I decided to actually kick off these sessions focusing on resume and cover letter and even LinkedIn strategy to offer everyone just like the first like quick thing that you could do to kind of enable yourself, enable your future so you're ready to apply for jobs. Tomorrow's session is going to focus on job search strategy. So, really just wanted to ground everyone today in kind of the basics around how to refresh and update your materials. That includes resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn. So, we'll talk a lot about that today. The second part of the workshop is actually leveraging LinkedIn. So going beyond just updating your profile and actually how to use the LinkedIn algorithm to work better for you. And then, of course, lastly, empowering yourself with resources. I have a lot of resources at the end of the document. So let's start with customizing your materials. I want to emphasize too that your resume and cover letter, it's the first step to a successful job search. So that's a huge one which we'll spend time on today. But another angle of this is LinkedIn. Again, your profile, but also how you are interacting with other people, how you're engaging on LinkedIn in general. And the most compelling thing that ties all those things together is how you tell your story across your materials and also in conversation with people, in networking and in interviews. Really quick, just want to go over the differences of a federal resume versus a private sector resume. So traditionally with federal resumes, what we normally see is that they're very long. They're normally 2 to 5 pages long. They include very detailed descriptions of your work, your qualifications, the duties that you held in each role. And your long federal resume is there to determine if you meet the requirements for a job announcement. Because of this, your resumes are designed to follow a prescribed structure that emphasizes compliance, regulatory knowledge, specific job classifications. Now, this differs from a private sector resume mainly because a private sector resume is a brief summary of your work. It's only 1 to 2 pages long. I've seen for senior level employees, I've seen them maximum go up to 3 pages, but I would not recommend anyone have a resume longer than 3 pages. The best recommendation is 1 to 2 for private sector. And your resume is designed to be a brief summary of your work history, relevant skills, and achievements. Your private sector resume is a marketing tool to help you land interviews. You could say the same for LinkedIn as well. And the biggest thing here is that we want to focus on your achievements that quantify impact like increasing revenue, streamlining processes, working with X amount of clients, things like that. So it's very, it's very keyword focused, it's skill focused and results focused as well. Now I have some examples that I'll show you all in just a second as well. Something else to keep in mind in the private sector world, and when I say private sector, this includes nonprofits, this includes philanthropies, this includes private sector, like for profit companies. Um, Now, state and local government might be a little bit closer to federal agencies. But when I say private sector, this does definitely include nonprofits as well. So when something that exists in the private sector, I'm not sure any government agency really uses a form of this. There's something called an applicant tracking system. And this is something to keep in mind as you prepare your resume and start sending it out. An applicant tracking system is a software used by companies to manage the entire recruitment process from start to finish. And a big part of what ATS systems do is that they are responsible for sorting and filtering resumes based on predefined criteria. That predefined criteria includes the keywords that are on the job description, key skills, years of experience, things like that. So a recruiter or hiring manager at the company kind of sets that criteria, and then anyone that applies to a job at a company that's using an ATS system, the ATS is actually the first scan of your resume. Do you have enough experience? Do you have the keywords on your resume? And if so, you'll pass through the system. If you do not meet the years of experience, or you don't have enough keywords, or your resume isn't tailored to the job, you may get an automatic rejection. Now, I really want to emphasize that ATS systems, even though they are supposed to be very cutting edge and they're supposed to speed up the process, I need to emphasize that they are highly imperfect. There are a lot of issues with ATS systems, and I could spend a whole other hour talking about that. So I've seen people with incredible resumes, they customize them, they are perfect in every way. I've seen them get rejected by ATS systems. So again, I really want to emphasize here, like, this is just something to keep in mind. You do not need to start thinking about, okay, how am I going to like beat the ATS and get through every single ATS? I do not recommend having that be your biggest emphasis, but the larger idea here is definitely making sure that you are customizing your resumes for the jobs you're applying for and including keywords. So the ATS systems will be able to scan your resume. They'll be pulling out qualified candidates based on those keywords and years of experience and automatically filtering. So today we'll kind of talk more about how to get through ATS, but also in general, whether it's a machine or a person reviewing your resume, how to stand out. So for a private sector resume, these are just some quick bullets I really want to emphasize that in order to get through an ATS and in order to just make sure your resume is very easily legible, I highly recommend a single column resume. So that just means all your information is in one column. You're not splitting it into two. You don't have your skills in a separate column. Everything is just kind of one after the other in a single column resume. You can also play with the font sizes between 10 to 12 point font. And here's a simple thing: your name, email, phone number, and LinkedIn should be right at the top, followed by a short summary of your skills. You do not need to include your address. That's something that I've seen a lot of people do, and I think it was more popular a few years ago, but to be honest, it's not something that people do these days. So I would recommend removing your address on your LinkedIn if you or on your resume if you have it there. You can, however, put your city or your location, but you do not need to put your address. Really good thing to keep in mind is that your resume is an ad, not an autobiography. You are highlighting and summarizing your skills. It's okay if you're missing something on one version of your resume, or if you like take out a few bullets here and there. You can still include them on your LinkedIn. You can still emphasize your work on your cover letter. There are other ways to describe your work if you're not able to fit every single thing onto your resume. Definitely make sure that you are customizing each resume for the jobs you're applying for, connecting your skills to the needs of the role or the company, and make sure that you're integrating projects outside of your job. This can include volunteer work for all of our federal colleagues here, the work that you did in interagency working groups, board membership, maybe you took on some other projects outside of your role, all of that is valuable. All of that is an asset to your resume. Really big thing about private sector resumes, or again, this transition of moving from federal into private sector, nonprofit, wherever you're looking, you really want to focus on emphasizing the impact of your work through qualitative and quantitative data. You can look at money. So, was there revenue growth? Did you reduce costs? Did you improve the profit margin? Time, how much time did you save by making a process optimization? Did you meet deadlines that were set? Product, you can look at, conversion improvements across the funnel. You can even talk about how many users of the product or process or team were there. Satisfaction, that can include net promoter score, customer satisfaction ratings, and people. How many people did you work with? How many, number of stakeholders did you manage, clients managed, especially if any of you are involved in events. That's a great thing to talk about. How many people came to your event, or how many people registered for your event? Really simple way of explaining all this together in, a few example down here is the XYZ method. Achieved X by Y, resulting in Z. And we're focusing on the outcome, action, and impact. A very quick example of what this looks like is directed a portfolio of community development projects with budgets totaling $5 million, ensuring compliance with federal regulations and achieving 100% on time, on budget delivery. It's a super strong sentence and bullet. Another thing to do, if you're thinking about this and you're like, okay, I'm going to do all this, I'm going to implement it, but how do I know if my resume is good enough? Or how do I know if I include all the right keywords? A really great tool that exists are these different resume scanners where you put in your resume and then you also paste the job description, and it will it'll rank, it'll tell you, oh, you should include more, or your resume isn't matching closely enough. So it can give you some more information on if you're doing a good job or if you need to improve the keywords and things like that. So there's a lot of different tools like that. Now, when it comes to your cover letter, I highly recommend that you build out a library of case studies that you can pull from. Your cover letter only needs to include 2 to 3 of those case studies on every cover letter. And the purpose of those case studies is to expand on the work that you've done, that you've described maybe on your resume, or that's the most relevant to the company. Your cover letter is the place to add additional information outside of your resume. Again, definitely have the same practice of including keywords from the job description and highlighting kind of relevant projects, like I said before. But this is a place to deeply describe what you did, how you did it, and what the impact was in more words than you can include on your resume. And now, when it comes to story, I really want to emphasize everyone here has a powerful story. Everyone here has a beautiful story that is valuable and important. I want to hear every single person's story. Now, how do you tell your story, right? Especially if you've had a 30 plus year career, 45 plus year career, or you're even just at the beginning and you've done a lot of things, or you've studied lots of different things, or you're not even sure how to tell that story. I highly recommend answering these 5 questions. Who do I help? What difference do I make for them? What are my strongest skills? What problems do I enjoy solving? And why do I want to work for this organization? The first 2 questions, who do I help and what difference do I make for them, is the easiest way of helping someone understand what it is that you do. Who do I help? That could be nonprofits, it could be a type of organization, but it could also be a type of person, a community, and the environment. It's not, I don't mean to specifically say like I help this one exact person, more around the different types of people or organizations that you can serve and you can help, and how your skills make a difference. Are you solving problems for them? Are you implementing their programs? Are you building new solutions? What does that look like? So those 2 first questions are really important and very quickly helping someone understand what it is that you do. And also, a really beautiful thing here is that once you answer these questions, you can repurpose this. across your resume, your cover letter, your LinkedIn, and in networking conversations and in interviews. Now, I promised I would share some resume examples, so I'll go ahead and kind of click on these. But again, once you access the slides, you can click on any of these and view these. So as I mentioned, all of these resumes, as you can see, they're different years of experience, different backgrounds. I'm going to click on resume 4 really quick. So in this resume, as you can see, this person um, this person has really done a great job of kind of sectioning out their different types of experience. So let's take a look at this. They have a strong introduction right here, but they also have sectioned out, they have social impact and climate, and they have fintech. So this is one way of organizing all of your work, kind of organizing it based on the sectors that you're most interested in and the work that you're doing. I really want to emphasize here that I think this is a great, first page here where they're highlighting key achievements. Driving systemic impact, contributed to the multi-organizational initiative, 43 savings, 30 industry partners, 2 billion in savings, 10 million Americans. Talk about the data that they're sharing about the impact of their work. This is a great example of that. And they've gone on to talk about, newsroom and media experience. They have education, they have skills. I would actually recommend that you put a skills section right at the top of your resume so someone can see that. Another example of what this can look like. Okay, so this is a person that has 5 years of experience and completed an MBA. Now, this resume looks a little different, right? It's a lot more paragraphs, not as much space, but something they've done right here is, again, this is what a strong heading looks like. Strategy and operations leader, shifting to climate tech. They have, some keywords and then a very strong paragraph describing their work. And then very simply have had, their company, role, dates. I think that's pretty standard. So that's a really great resume as well. And I'm going to share this last one. This is actually an example of someone that's kind of done both full-time work and freelance. So this is a pretty cool resume. And so you can take a look at their heading right here. They actually don't have that introduction paragraph, which I would recommend that they do. But what they've done really well is that their professional experience, they've listed out all their full-time roles. They're using a lot of keywords, quantifying their work. And then their second page is all about their freelance work. So if anyone here does like contract work, or if you're even thinking about going from full-time work into freelance, contract, fractional work, consulting work, something like that, there's a way that you can kind of have both equally demonstrated and represented on your resume as well. So those are some examples of resumes, but I really encourage people to click through these if you want to see some more examples. Let's see. So with another thing, I just want to emphasize too, if any of this seems really daunting or you're like, I don't even know how to get started. I'm afraid, or I've maybe even tried something and it just seems really difficult. This is where all of the technology and the tools that we have accessible, that's where that comes in now. So I would say if you're struggling to get started, you can use tools like AI and ChatGPT to help you with that first draft. Really, it's really important to keep in mind that each of these tools are still under development, so they still can make mistakes. They might write in a way that doesn't sound very natural. So I really encourage everyone that if you're going to use these tools, make sure that you are reviewing what they write, add in your own information, your own voice, and ensure that you're customizing everything that they write so you're not just relying on this tool completely. You can use these tools to cut down on the amount of time it takes to edit each resume or cover letter, but there is an emphasis on, are you using the tool correctly, or are you adding the correct prompts and things like that. So if you're ever, if you're thinking about, I'd like to use ChatGPT, but I don't know how, I actually have a few resources in here. This is a pretty cool one that I recently discovered. I'll just quickly show you. This is a ChatGPT resource that someone built specifically to help federal employees change their federal resume into an industry resume. So like private sector, like all those resume versions we talked about. And these are some examples of convert my federal resume into a private sector. How can I highlight my achievements? It gives you some prompts to help you get started. Additionally, I have a bunch of resume templates, cover letter templates. I have a few other resources to help you build your resume for the private sector as well. So I have a lot of resources in here. I encourage you to explore these and see how you can use them. I'm gonna check the chat and just see what questions I'm getting. Um, and I'm seeing a question here about how, can you talk a little bit more about how to quantify things in a qualitative way? And that's a really good question. Let me see if I can go back to some examples here. Let me go back to this communications resume. Um, so I think that more of like a qualitative description of work is, and I want to emphasize here, your soft skills are just as equally, if not more important than your hard skills. So the soft skills like communication, working well with other people, team building, management, like these are all things that are really valuable. So I encourage you to emphasize those skills and describe them as well. I would say maybe, this sort of experience of completing like a fellowship or an educational program, maybe that's like slightly more qualitative of I did this program and this is what I learned, but kind of emphasizing um not only like the clients that you had, but what's kind of the details of the work that you did. So example here, establish and operationalize small business consultancy to offer communications and content. So this person isn't saying I wrote 10 articles that reached 1,000 people and converted to 2 paying clients. Like that's not what this example is. This is what I did. I designed communications, content for social impact and these types of organizations. That's a really strong example of kind of a qualitative description. Another, I think another question I'm getting here is, government job titles are super long and different from private sector job titles. What's your opinion on tweaking and changing your job title to align better with the job you're applying for? I love this question, and I think that a that's actually a prime question to ask ChatGPT. And I think that's something where you could kind of put in sections of your resume, you could add your whole resume, and then exactly ask that question of how, like, how can I translate this job title to a private sector job title? So ChatGPT is one tool that can help you. Another thing to consider is, let's say if your role had like officer or manager in the title, do some research. Just you can go on LinkedIn and type in the job title that you had and see what comes up. See if there's any people that have a similar job title, or even if there's other keywords that come up with your search. And that's another way of seeing what else exists, seeing what other roles are out there that maybe use the same keywords, but you'll get examples of how other job titles are scripted, and just like what another job description looks like that includes the same keywords as yours. So I'd say both ChatGPT and doing some research to see like what are other roles, what do other roles look like that maybe have the same keywords as my role, or maybe have similar responsibilities. I think that can really help you. Another question I'm getting is, how many years back should you go on your resume? That's a great question. I I recommend not necessarily emphasizing how many years back, but which of the roles that you've had are relevant to the job that you are applying for. If you had a role 20 years ago, but it's actually like directly in line with what work you want to do, then you should include that. But if the work at the beginning of your career simply isn't relevant or doesn't apply, you don't need to keep it on your resume. And here's the great thing as well, you don't have to include every single piece of experience you have on your resume, but you can on your LinkedIn because there's more space there. So if you take anything off your resume and you're like, worried about it, just know and make sure that it can live on your LinkedIn and you keep it there. So you have another place that catalogs your entire career. So that's kind of the in between of not necessarily looking at years, but actually what's the relevance of the work that you did a while ago. And if it's still relevant, then you should keep it on your resume and kind of um, emphasize that in your resume and cover letter as well. Now I'm going to jump into talking a little bit more about leveraging LinkedIn. And again, I'll talk a little bit about the profile, but I'm going to talk more about LinkedIn strategy and making the algorithm really work for you. So when I talk about LinkedIn, when I talk about the job search in general, I see a lot of job seekers kind of have this one-way approach of I'm the job seeker, I'm going to go apply to jobs, I'm going to learn, I'm going to network, I'm going to volunteer. Like there's this kind of like one-way street where I myself am doing everything to get myself out there and just kind of, you know, spread my wings and just kind of like get my fingers into a lot of different things, which is a really great thing. That's a great strategy to take. But what also happens is that I see people get very exhausted by it. I see a lot of people that are like, "Oh, I'm doing all these things. Like, why am I not moving forward, or why am I not seeing results?" The difference here is that I want to emphasize that you reaching out, you doing all those things, that is absolutely the right idea and the right strategy. But I encourage everyone to think about how can you make each of those strategies work together. So you're not just so job searching isn't this one thing that's over there, but also like networking is the other thing that's really far away. Like how do we make all these things work better together? So, LinkedIn is one of those tools that I think can really make this more regenerative, circular, and kind of help all of your efforts lean into each other. And kind of what I like to call this is multi-solving. Multi-solving is a theory and a practice for also building a better world. And multi-solving pretty much just means if you are applying one solution to one problem, that solution should tackle more problems all at once. And so that's what I think LinkedIn can really do for you as a job seeker. So let me jump right into the LinkedIn profile essentials. So, first and foremost, I want to emphasize that LinkedIn Recruiter is different than the LinkedIn that you and I are using when we're just kind of scrolling and looking for jobs. LinkedIn Recruiter is a very powerful resource that recruiters and hiring managers at companies they use it to recruit for candidates for the jobs that they are hiring for. LinkedIn Recruiter is pretty much a really in-depth like Google type search engine on the back end of LinkedIn. And this is like an earlier version of LinkedIn Recruiter, I think, but this is pretty much when I've used it, pretty much looks like this. So the way that recruiters use it is that we go in, we type in, as you can see on the left, like we type in what we are looking for in a candidate. Previously, I was recruiting for mechanical engineers for a agriculture startup. So the words that I put in were around mechanical engineering, the technical skills they needed, the years of experience. And once I hit enter, LinkedIn Recruiter gave me a bunch of candidates, thousands of candidates that met those requirements. So this is a tool that recruiters and hiring managers are using to find people with the right skills, and that means they're looking for people like you. They're looking for people with lots of years of experience, maybe looking for people with prior experience in government that they want to bring into other sectors. So, LinkedIn Recruiter is a very powerful resource to help you become discovered on the platform. A really interesting thing that I want to emphasize here is that your activity level on LinkedIn attracts recruiters. It increases your searchability and it makes you more visible to recruiters. If you have a LinkedIn and you have not used it for years, you are not going to appear in a search. And this is kind of goes into more of like the algorithmic side of if you have a LinkedIn but you don't have all the keywords, then you're not going to appear in a search. If you have a LinkedIn but you're not very active on it, it's going to be harder for you to appear in a search. So, this is where I really want to emphasize your activity level improves your searchability by recruiters. Your direct engagement with companies, posts, LinkedIn leaders also increases your chances of appearing in a recruiter search. And keyword optimization on your profile is the most important thing to help this happen. Now, below is a screenshot that I actually took of a LinkedIn recruiter search that I did. And as you can see, the first number on the left shows 434 people open to work. Now, normally I'll tell you, and you can see there's over 2,000 results. So this number of narrowing into 434 people, and actually I had to put in like a lot of keywords, a lot of specifics of what I was looking for in order to um get to that kind of smaller number. 434 people open to work means that these are all people that pulled up the search function, pulled this up, and it's showing me, hey, these might be qualified candidates for your search. The next section right here, it's showing me 360 active talent. That means these are people that have shared a profile update, a public resume on LinkedIn, or work at a company that might be experiencing layoffs. So LinkedIn actually tells me if if layoffs have occurred, but also if you update your profile, you'll appear in this section. Another thing to consider, there's 90 interested in your company. So this means people that are liking or following the company page on LinkedIn, and 64 have company connections. So for me as a recruiter, I don't have time to go through 434 people open to work. I might actually start with this active talent pool, or I might even start with the 90 that are interested in the company. So, by making these profile updates, by increasing your activity on LinkedIn and engaging with organizations of interest, you will be able to kind of increase your searchability and increase your chances of appearing in these searches. So, let me go through very briefly what making profile updates can look like. I'm going to go top to bottom, open to work, your headline, about section, experience, and recommendations. Number one, your open to work section. If you are open to work, make sure your LinkedIn says that. I think there's a lot of fear, and I think almost like a stigma that people have of like, oh, I don't want to have the green banner, or I'm like nervous. I kind of hear a lot of fear oftentimes around that, but I just really want to emphasize that the only way that someone can find you or even know that you're looking for a job is if you say that you are open to work. And a really good thing about this is that there is a public version of open to work and a private version. So if this is not something that you want to be open about, if this is not something you want everyone to know, that's okay. You can have the private version of open to work on, which means that it's mostly open to recruiters. So recruiters can find you. There's also the public version of Open to Work, which means it puts that green banner on your profile picture, kind of lets everyone know that you're open to work. And there's a lot of people doing that. I think there's something like 2 million people have the Open to Work banner there. So there's a lot of it. Again, it's like very common and very popular. When you edit your open to work section, you can also get very specific with the types of roles that you are looking for, location, even pay preferences. Like you can get really specific with it. So LinkedIn will then show you more opportunities that are aligned with that. Another thing to keep in mind, your headline. So your headline is what appears just below your profile picture on LinkedIn. And when recruiters or anybody else that's searching for candidates, if they go onto LinkedIn, this screenshot here is not LinkedIn Recruiter, it's actually just LinkedIn itself. If I go into that search bar and I say I'm looking for a product manager that works in climate, anyone that has product manager climate in their headline or even in their description is going to appear first. Now, the cool thing about what this search just did is that these are not even my first connections. These are not people I know. These are people that I maybe share some mutual connections with, and these are people that have the keywords in their profile and in their headline. And the headline is the first thing that people see about you. That's really why I'm talking about this and emphasizing the importance, is because you can have an amazing profile with a great about section, all the descriptions, but if you do not quickly describe what you do in your headline, people might miss out on your profile because you're not quickly communicating what it is that you do. You can't tailor your LinkedIn profile for each specific role that you are applying for, but you can supercharge it with relevant keywords for the different types of roles you're applying for. So, this example, I did product manager, but let's say you're looking for like project management and program management and maybe like operations. Like you have maybe three types of roles that you're interested in. You can include all of those keywords in your headline and then describe them further in your about section. Something to keep in mind too, I just have some examples here of a strong headline and a headline that needs improvement. Um, on the left, you can see this is a strong headline: Chief of Staff and Operations Leader, Public Policy, Government Affairs. This second one right here says Tech Product Management Advisor, Climate Tech, experience in quickly scaling products and orgs from 0 to million. So there's again the data of their work. And then lastly, Chief People Officer. Something I like about this last one is this is something that I think it's fairly common in the tech industry to say, ex Google, X, like these are the companies that I worked for before. And this person here said ex USAID, ex UN environmental program. So um, that's something to consider as well. Now, the ones on the right, these are great. Like again, I want to emphasize they're not bad, but the areas in which they need some improvement are that, let's take a look at this first one: driving impact at the intersection of peace, security, and sustainability. I love that. It's a lot of great keywords, but what do they do? What's their role? What's the skill? Like, are they at a director level? Are they mid-career? Like it's hard for me to assess what career level are they at and what is it that they want to do. Another thing here, the second one, coach operations program management, that's pretty cool, but what industries? And then the last one here, this is a really strong one for a C-suite type person, saying CMO, executive advisor, helping organizations, growth marketing. But again, it's missing industries. I don't know if they only want to work in tech or if they're interested in the nonprofit space, local government, whatever that is, they should include that. Your About You section is a great place to show and tell your story. There's a few different ways to do this. So your About Me section should, those 5 questions that I asked before of who do I help? What do I do for them? This is the place to answer those questions and put your answers here. You can also speak to your expertise and the impacts that you've made, include a bunch of keywords, not only about the work that you've done, but the work that you are looking to do in the future. And of course, showcase your personality. Talk about what brings you joy, what you're excited to do, what problems you want to solve. This is the place to be creative. So this person, this bio that I pulled is actually from a fractional C-suite consulting person. And so as you can see, they've listed it around, they have different paragraphs describing the work that they're interested in, and then even at the end talk about their family and where they live. Another example of an about section can also look like this. This is a freelancer that is specifically trying to work with, climate social impact startups, a larger company, public sector. This is pretty cool because they've actually outlined, if you are this person, this is what I can do for you. And this is the impact that I can have. So this is a really great example of a way to optimize your about section so it can be scanned very quickly. As you can imagine, recruiters, hiring managers, if they're looking at a lot of candidates, they may not have time to, read 5 paragraphs and kind of get all the way through it, even if you have all the right keywords. So just kind of sectioning it out a little bit this way, including bullets, just making it easily scannable is a way to just ensure that people can look and see your profile as well. The featured section. If you have anything that you've written, any articles that have been published, anything you're proud of, you can link to it in your featured section and highlight your work, whether that's videos, reports, any other publications. And your experience section, this is just like what's on your resume. Your experience sections should include a description of your work. Oftentimes, I see people on LinkedIn just put their company and their role, and then they don't describe the work that they do at all. Don't be one of those people. You are missing out on the additional ability to include more keywords and describe your work if you don't fill this section out. So make sure that you're adding not only your company and job title and dates of employment, but also describe the work that you did. This is an opportunity to add more keywords to your profile, and same thing, you can get quantitative and qualitative here. The easiest part to this is whatever you do to improve your resume, put those same descriptions on your LinkedIn. And on your LinkedIn, you have more space if you want to add additional information as well. Now, the recommendations section. The recommendations, this is a very simple, nice to have on your profile. We all know that you all are incredible employees. You're incredible ideas people. You're incredible at the work that you do. You have amazing skills. Now, getting someone to leave a recommendation is a very easy way of showcasing how much of an incredible team member you are and how much of an asset you are to any organization you join. So I really recommend adding at least 3 recommendations: someone that you've led, someone that has led or managed you, and someone you've worked alongside, so a peer. Again, this is a very simple way of showcasing how amazing you are, so you don't want to miss this opportunity to put that on your profile. Now, LinkedIn algorithm essentials. So, as I've talked about, let's say you've gone through, you've made the LinkedIn profile updates, you've included all the keywords, you're kind of understanding um, what it is that you're looking for. Now, the next step is to bring all of that information towards you and bring more people to your profile. And that's where improving the LinkedIn algorithm really comes together. So, the LinkedIn algorithm feeds off of what you give it. The more you engage with relevant content, the more it will show you. So, the easiest way to make this happen is to follow people and companies that are doing work that interests you. You can like, comment, reshare relevant posts. You can create your own posts in your own voice. And really, a big one here is you can curate connections in your sectors of interest. If anyone here, if your LinkedIn newsfeed is full of information from one sector and you're like, hey, I actually want to move into another one, you can curate that. You can mute people. I don't recommend unfriending or like disconnecting from anyone because you never know how they can help you in the future. But if there's like 10 people that you're seeing their posts every day and you're just like, I don't care, it's not relevant for me, you can mute them. And by doing that, you're going to curate what it is that you see every day. And another big part of this is LinkedIn is a really powerful tool for building connection. And that connection should and can be done in meaningful ways. So let me describe a little bit of what that looks like. And to emphasize this again, when you do all these little steps and you get LinkedIn to really work for you, the algorithm is going to start feeding you networking opportunities, jobs that are relevant to you, resources that are relevant to you, more job boards, more access to learning opportunities. It will feed you more of this because that's what you're interacting with. Now, when I say engaging with people, I have a lot of examples of what this looks like in meaningful engagement. So, Nick Martin here is an incredible leader on LinkedIn, does really incredible social impact humanitarian work. And he leads this thing called Social Saturdays. So, every Saturday, he makes a post saying, hey, if you want to network or you want to meet new people, leave a comment about who you are in the thread. Now, as you can see here, this has gotten 241 likes, 575 comments, and you can see Chelsea here, what she left here. Now, this sort of post, even if you don't want to leave your information or you're nervous to leave a comment, that's okay. What you can also do is you can scroll through this thread of 575 comments and find 10 new people you want to connect with. If you do that once or twice a week, you will be filling your LinkedIn connections and LinkedIn newsfeed with more relevant information and stronger connections that can help you maybe find another role. You can also identify the dream companies that you want to work with or just great companies you're interested in and follow their company pages so you can see what they are talking about as well. Now, when I talk about commenting, right, like leaving a meaningful post or comment, this is what this looks like. So Katie here is a CIO. She wrote something on LinkedIn saying, I couldn't find an article about XYZ. Does anybody have um, recommendations on how to address iteration and learning in the climate space? Bullock here left this article and said, hey, I read this article, thought it was really interesting, left this comment. and she got a direct interaction with Katie. Katie responded and said thank you. Now, this is a beautiful thing about LinkedIn is you can take this interaction and move it to the DMs. Bala could actually reach out to Katie and say, I'm interested in what you mentioned, or I'm thinking about that too. Do you want to talk for 15 minutes and just kind of chat that way? So you can approach this from leaving a comment can also lead to more opportunity. Here, I want to emphasize this is actually my personal experience last year. My colleague Danielle here left this, wrote this piece on LinkedIn that was talking about green talent in 2024. And it got a lot of comments. 109 people liked it, 30 comments. And I was actually giving a presentation at New York Climate Week the following week. And I was like, this is the data that I need. So, can you share the report? I haven't seen it yet. And I got two comments from Neil Yo, who's the founder of 1.5 Academy, another climate education organization, and Ephraim, who is the Sustainability Policy Partnerships lead at LinkedIn. So I got direct comments from both of them. I actually was able to connect with each of them. And Neil was running an event at New York Climate Week that was, you had to apply to get in. He saw my comment, he saw who I was, and then he went back and saw that I had applied and I was admitted to the event. So because I left a comment, I got to go to like a closed door event at Climate Week. This comment got me access to that. So this is really what I mean of like leaving a comment. You don't know who will see it and you don't know who else can interact with it. So leaving meaningful comments where you are speaking from the heart, you are sharing your expertise, you're adding something to the conversation can really open up who else is coming to your profile to see and learn more. Another example of what creating your own post can look like, my colleague here, Joshua, is a freelance designer, and he decided to do this free UX audit giveaway for climate companies. And he kind of wrote out, what does this look like? What's this service? Why is it free? And he actually offered, he made this post. Also, again, emphasizing it got 91 likes, 19 comments, 9 reposts, got a lot of eyes on it. He got 3 people to work with him on this, and he actually got paying clients out of this. So whether you're doing, the freelance, the fractional, if you're going another route than full-time work, this is where these sorts of posts can really bring people to your profile and engage with you, and maybe even, you could create your own projects or own work this way as well. There's no shortage of what you can talk about on LinkedIn. You can talk about something you're working on, what you're learning, something you want to share, an event you're going to. You could share this video as well, or stories from your past work experience. I know LinkedIn right now, it's a tough place to be. A lot of people sharing about the layoffs, a lot of people sharing about fears and uncertainty. And now is also the time. If you feel compelled to share your story in that angle, you absolutely can. Now is a lot of people are doing that on LinkedIn. So I don't want to, force this like false positivity or like that everything on LinkedIn has to be shiny and bright. You can also be real. You can share the tough stuff. You can share the harder things. And I really want to emphasize there will be people there with you. There will be people to help you, and there will be people that probably feel similarly. So, yes, you can talk about all the cool things that are coming, things you're excited about, things you're learning, and you can also share the tough stuff and even how you're overcoming some of those challenges. A lot of people struggle, and I'm saying this at the end because I want to completely recognize that LinkedIn is a difficult place for a lot of people, especially for people that don't really like social media, don't subscribe to it, don't want to be on it. And even just now, LinkedIn is a really overwhelming place to be. So I want to kind of end this section looking at this idea of two mindsets around LinkedIn that I hear very often. One is that people are like, okay, LinkedIn social media, and I automatically hate it because of that. Yes, you can think of that. The other alternative is you can also think of a way, you can think of LinkedIn as a resource to alchemize hidden opportunity. I'm using this word alchemize because you are turning a comment, a relationship, an interaction, or a resource that you're seeing somewhere. LinkedIn gives you the opportunity to translate that one thing that you're seeing into an opportunity, into a connection. You're taking a resource and you're turning it into something else. And that's why I'm using this word alchemize, because that's the power that I see LinkedIn has. And that's kind of what I coach on, and that's what I've seen it in my own career as well. So you can either think of LinkedIn as social media, or you can think of it as a resource to alchemize hidden opportunity. And I encourage you to explore this, see which mindset that you hold gives you results and helps you see a difference. I want to end today's session with this beautiful landscape image of these mountains and emphasize this really beautiful quote by Arundhati Roy: "What lies ahead? Reimagining the world. Only that." That is the work that I am dedicated to doing. And it is an honor to share this time with you. And it is an honor to help each of you navigate your path forward. Your skills are valuable. You are valuable. And I'm so grateful that I could share this time with you. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here. And I'll just wrap up and share the end of this slide deck is all resources. I have compiled a list of resources specifically for USAID and federal workers impacted by the layoffs. You can join the Bloom. You can share resumes directly with companies that are hiring. There's a lot of different resources for folks here, so take a look at this. When I'm talking about, follow people on LinkedIn, engage, you might even be thinking, okay, well, where do I start? I have a short list here for you to get started. And some books. If people like books or podcasts, I have a list here as well. A lot of great books to kind of help you move through this time, as well as social impact communities and job boards. And of course, tomorrow I'm hosting another workshop specifically focusing on job search strategy. And with that, I think I tried to get through as many questions as I can. I'll take a quick look at the chat and see if I can answer any other questions. Let me stop the screen share. Let me just go ahead and look at the questions really quick and answer a few. Okay, I'm seeing a really great question here. Given the toxicity and challenging working context many USAID folks are moving through from the past few weeks, do you have any tips for how we might approach resume and LinkedIn refreshes with fresh perspective, optimism, and hope? I love this question. Thank you so much for having the strength and vulnerability of asking this question. And I think that there's a lot of people that are feeling this. I'm feeling it as well. I think my best advice on this question is actually to slow down. For those of you that are feeling really afraid, feeling scared, there's so many emotions that each of us could be feeling at any given moment. I, number one, want to say it is okay to feel those feelings, and it is okay to sit with them for however long feels comfortable for you. I think this period of, it's almost like this period of urgency makes us feel like we have to do something right now, we have to jump right into it. But I also want to emphasize that it's also difficult to make the right decisions. It's also difficult to um, think critically if you're moving from a place of fear. And so that's something I want to emphasize, that I think a big part of building optimism and building hope is also just taking a moment to maybe rest, to take a break, to close your computer, to go for a walk, to be outside, be with your loved ones, do the things that make you feel good outside of your job, outside of the resume. And tomorrow, actually, I'll be talking more about how to focus on what's within your control and influence, and pretty much if something is outside of your control, to not spend time on it. Your resume absolutely is within your control. The relationships that you have, these are all things that are within your control. So I would really just say, take a deep breath, feel okay in slowing down, cultivate those relationships, spend time with your family and friends, and there are things outside of your resume that will help you build hope and optimism. So I think that's my answer to that. Let's see. Oh, that's a good question. Do you recommend putting your graduation year from college on your resume? For older folks, people are hesitant to list the year they graduated because of age discrimination. For younger folks, I'm worried someone would underestimate my skills and experiences based on my graduation date. That's a really good question. I think that if you are a recent graduate, I'd say, or like maybe early career, early to mid career, let's say maybe you graduated in the last 5 years. I think that you should put your graduation date not from the perspective of needing to prove or show anything, but it does help people see, okay, this person's been in the workforce for X amount of years. I personally am like for early career or mid career folks, it's more helpful to see that than it is harmful. And then I would say for older, more senior level people, I personally am like I've seen a lot of people take the graduation date uh, off of their resumes, mainly because your experience speaks for itself. It's not We're not doing anything to hide your graduation date, but the amount of experience that you have on your resume pretty much will show how much experience you have. And so I don't think that including the graduation date necessarily makes much of a difference. I'm seeing a few questions on LinkedIn. This is a good question. Does verifying LinkedIn matter? I'm locked out of my USAID email, so I can't verify. Verification doesn't really matter. It's kind of like what that was in the early days of Twitter, where you just got to have that little badge next to your name. It does not matter. It doesn't give you any more access to anything either. I was furloughed. Do you recommend I leave my past role up as my headline or should I change it to something more generic? Okay, this is actually a really great question. You should not have your job as your headline. You should not have your current or previous role as your headline. I actually think that you should have, again, those descriptors that I talked about of um, if you're a chief of staff with a specific organization, you can say chief of staff, but your whole headline should not be chief of staff at, because you're also pigeonholing yourself to say this is the work that I'm doing. You're not being expansive with all the other work or skills that you have or the other industries you want to work in. So I would recommend definitely have your past role on your LinkedIn. You want to put that in your skills section, but your headline should emphasize the skills that you have, the roles that you are now looking for, and maybe even a section on industries as well. Um, Lastly, okay, cool. Great question. Do you recommend writing posts on LinkedIn? Yes. I think that everybody here has a unique voice and unique voice, unique experiences, and LinkedIn posts are a great way to simply say, this is what I did, this is what I learned. It's almost like those case studies that I talked about in your cover letter, right? You could take one of those, take a case study, go to ChatGPT and say, turn this into a LinkedIn post, and it will spit out a little like 2 paragraphs with some bullets that you can then translate into a LinkedIn post. So there are ways to use these tools to kind of again tell your story, but do so in an engaging and an interesting way. So I do really recommend writing posts on LinkedIn from the angle of showcasing your skills and showcasing what it is that you're about. What are your values? What are the things that you really care about? And by when you do that, people will like, people will comment, people will share their own stories. So it's again another way of engaging people, bringing people to your profile. So I know we're at time, so I'm gonna wrap up the call for today. But I really want to say again, thank you so much, everyone, for spending the last hour with me. Thank you again to the Bloom for hosting this workshop. And there will be another workshop tomorrow. And if you're watching this online, then I will share the additional link to the second recording in the chat or in the description on YouTube as well. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work that you are doing, and I will see you in the next session. Take care, everyone.